Hi, and welcome to my Ask Me Anything live stream. My name is Graham from Ember Sky Media, and today I'm going to be trying to answer your astronomy questions. And then at the end of the live stream, I will be giving away this telescope. If you are joining us on the replay, I will be putting chapters in so that you can skip ahead over questions that you may already know the answers to. And if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I will come back and check those questions later and try to give you answers. Or if you have a more complicated question, I'll actually go and make a video about it and then reply to your question, comment, whatever thing below, and basically give you that answer as here, watch this video. So thank you today for joining me. I'm just going to double check that yes, we seem to be live. Hopefully, we're live. If you have any issues with audio, etc., let me know. But otherwise, we are good to go. So I did start with some photo quick questions that I jotted down that I've seen people ask over and over again. And one of those questions has been, how can I take a photo of the sun? And I know this is one that a lot of people are asking because it's the summer, the sun is up far more than anything at night, and it's a great question. And I did a video using this little tiny telescope and a filter on the front, which I'm going to get right now because I totally forgot it. 1 second. Yes, I'm not used to live streaming. So what I did was I have this stuff that's called solar paper, and carefully take it out. There we go. It comes in sheets like this. Sometimes you can get it pre-made. In fact, if you have ever done, if you this is the first time you're looking at getting this picture of the sun or pointing a telescope at the sun, I would recommend that you don't buy the solar paper, but actually get a pre-made filter for the size of scope, just simply because you have to be really careful with this stuff. And I made a little tiny filter, which basically takes the cap, and you can do this with any telescope and basically go like this, and now you have a solar scope. Now, obviously, this is the $25 version of how to do this. You can obviously go out and buy specific solar scopes that are a lot better. Like if you see some of those pictures where they have like a whole bunch of surface detail and stuff like that, those are actually what's called angstrom telescopes. And basically, they have a special cell in them that gives about zero point 0.5 angstrom at the 656 nanometer range, which is hydrogen alpha. And then you also have the continuum filter and some other ones that you can also do as well. But the idea being is that those get a lot more expensive. This is a really easy one. And I do have a video on my channel of me using this exact setup to take a picture of the sun. But it's not really recommended for beginners. Um, I would say that if you want to do that, you can, but you do need to make sure that this is covered. And one side note, any optics you have. So if you have something like a finder scope on here, you need to make sure it's covered because this is also a lens. Same thing with Telrad, with red dot finder, etc. You need to make sure all the optic lenses are covered or have a filter in front if you're planning on using them. And jumping down here again. If you're interested to know, this one stuff was Bader film, and yeah, I know the paper's kind of destroyed, but yeah, so you need to make sure that you're getting like a brand name of a solar film. Don't trust anything that you might get like off of, I don't want to say eBay, but like any site that you know is not a astro no, astronomy site or an astrophotography site, because you know, well, I know this is Bader film and stuff. Somebody might say, "Oh, here's some thin tinfoil." This is not tinfoil. This is very specific. So just something to keep in mind on if you do want to do solar. I recommend buying an actual solar scope cover for your telescope from an actual solar store until you've actually gotten. Oh, I'm just making a mess here. Awesome, and we'll put that down there. So, so that's sort of how you do a solar filter to take a picture of the sun. And overall, I think that is something I know a lot of people ask, especially this time of year, because we got at night, we don't really have astronomical twilight yet. And we also have the moon phases going around. Now, right now, the moon's up like really early in the morning. It's a very thin crescent. So it's not as big an issue, but as we go cycle into the next cycle, it will be popping up. So just something to go. So if you do have any questions, please leave them in the live chat. The live chat's on this side, and I will be sure to answer them. I'm just going to quickly check here what we've got. So this morning we have Cameron. Welcome, Cameron, to the live stream. I hope you're enjoying the answer so far. I've given the sole answer. I also have Josh. Hi, Josh, and welcome to the stream as well. If you have any questions, again, please leave them below. And we have a few other people watching that are being silent watchers. Feel free to comment. And hopefully this will continue to go really well. The next question I have, and if you've been on my channel for a while, you've seen a couple videos where I'm comparing a telescope with a telephoto lens. And one of the questions I got back a couple times was, what's the advantage of a telephoto lens over a telescope and vice versa? So obviously they're both optics. A telephoto lens has like quite a bit of zoom. To these days, you can get them up to like 600 millimeters, and with like a teleconverter, you can really like stretch that out to almost 900 millimeters. And therefore, you're like, do I really need to go out and buy a separate telescope? Well, if you are doing visual, I would recommend that you use a telescope because they're literally designed with the fewest optics possible in the optical train so that the most light will get through that scope and into your eyes. Lenses, when they give you a F mount, like they say, like f2.8, it's an estimate. It's a numerical estimate. It's not actually a hard t-stop, which is actually, this is the exact amount of light that you're getting through. So with all those optical lenses in the telescope, sorry, telephoto lens, you actually reduce how much light you're actually getting through. Refer to it like quantum efficiency. You know, one sensor might have a quantum efficiency of 70%, and another sensor might have quantum efficiency of 85, another one might have 90, that sort of idea. They're all the same sensor size, maybe the same pixels, but their design and like being backside illuminated or front side illuminated allows just a little bit more light through the to the photo surfaces. Similar with telephoto lenses. Now, the disadvantage to telephoto lenses or telescopes is that they're designed to do one thing and one thing really well. And if you're doing a lot of telephoto um, astronomy, like astrophotography, then it makes sense to have a telescope because you can go out and take pictures and you have a purpose-built machine that is designed to have, you know, as flat a frame as possible across the whole thing. Like it's completely flat. Whereas with telephoto lenses, yeah, they are pretty sharp and they are pretty flat, but they're not like super flat and super sharp because most people who are using telephoto lenses, they're like focusing on an object like me. And you know what happens in the background and what happens in the foreground doesn't have to be perfectly flat because chances are it's not actually in the plane of field. This is just the reality of what people take pictures of on the ground, etc. You know, there's a lot of depth. Like this camera or this telescope here is far closer to the camera than I am, and the background I can't. Can I even touch it? Yeah, I can just touch it. So therefore, you know, everything being out of, you know, different focal planes for a telephoto lens, it just needs to make sure like most, like a good portion of the sensor gets in focus. It doesn't have to really worry about these edges. Whereas in astronomy, these edges matter. Like they really do matter. And because you want perfectly round stars, you want to make sure they're round all the way to the edges. Otherwise, you take a picture like this of something in astronomy, and then you have to crop it down, and then you crop it down to something like, I'm gonna say about, yeah, I'm gonna say about this. This is what I've noticed on some telephoto lenses I've tested. And you sit there and say, well, that's great, but now you've gone from say a 500 millimeter telescope to like 1,000, but you've basically not actually magnified to 1,000. You've cropped down to 1,000, so you have less pixels in your image. So just something to keep in mind. The other aspect with lenses and stuff, and I do have something. I don't want to. I'm waiting to get it and make sure it works. But there is a bit of new technology coming out that I have coming in August or September that's designed to focus your telephoto lenses on stars. But also, I have another piece of equipment coming to help me do some uh, focusing on stars using telescopes. So It'll be interesting to see which one does a better job. Oh, I got somebody else here. So, Old Curmudgeon has said good morning. There we go. Yeah, so right now we're just talking about telephoto lenses and telescopes and sort of the difference between them and why you might prefer to get a telescope over a telephoto lens if you're primarily doing astrophotography. Obviously, if you're not primarily doing astrophotography, you're doing a mix of the two. Sometimes it's hard to go out and say I'm going to go spend an extra $500 or $1,000 on a telescope if I have a telephoto lens that can kind of do the same thing. Now, obviously, if you've checked out some of my other videos, you'll notice, yeah, if you have a really expensive telephoto lens, like $2,500, like the f2.8 kind of idea, telephoto zooms, or even a telephoto prime lens, they do a really good job and they get really close. Whereas if you have a more budget zoom lens, like a 75 to 300, or something that goes from like, I don't want to be too general here, but you know, it starts with like, let's say f3.5 to like 5.6 or 6.3, like it doesn't have a constant aperture across the scope. Yeah, those the difference between a telephoto lens and a telescope are going to be very obvious. Because and that's where you get, like, I have the red cat, which I can pull up here, totally unplanned. Like the red cat is, I think, $700 still. And it's a $700 telescope, but to get the quality out of this red cat, you're either a having to go and get like a really cool retro lens that it does a pretty good job, or you're going out and spending like $2,000-3,000 on like a really top end telephoto zoom. Well, if you're looking at saying, do I want a telescope and my regular telephoto zoom lens, which works quite well, this actually might be a cheaper option than trying to upgrade to that other lens. But again, that's up to you. But just keep in mind that to get to this quality, you generally have to spend quite a bit of money, or you have to find some really good quality, really good conditioned retro lenses. Because there are a couple, but they're like 40, 50 years old, so you better hope nobody's dropped them in the meantime. All right. All right. So we have our first question of the day. So, Alex, should I get a guide scope and guide camera or an Optilon ELF enhanced filter first? Which one would you benefit from getting first? Okay, so thank you for your question, Alex. I would generally say that if you are doing astrophotography, which sounds like you are because you're actually asking about astrophotography equipment, yes, it's early in the morning. I would say that you want to go with the guide system first. And the reason I say this is because even if you are in a high bortle area, getting a just getting a guide system and being able to get those round stars means that you can then image longer, and be able to collect more data, and that signal to noise ratio is going to improve. Whereas if you go out and get a filter, but your stars are still not round, one thing with filters that you'll find is that they reduce how much light you get only by a little bit. Like obviously the L enhanced filter is very advanced. It doesn't cut too much of the total light spectrum off, but it does a bit, and therefore you can actually get uh, results. Like for me, I know I don't actually use filters very often. I do have some over there that I'm slowly working my way through testing, but generally that's just simply I live in a very low bortle area. But if you do need to get a filter, I would say you want to make sure you get round stars first before you buy the filter, simply because unless you want to take like a whole bunch of short subs. But the problem with that is then processing power, computer is gonna trust me, I do not like processing more than 250 photos at a time. And I have, well, a 5-year old beast of a machine, although I'm looking at upgrading it. Yeah, taking like 20-second exposures and stacking like 1,000 of them takes a long time. And I just would say go for the longer exposure. The data is just better the longer you can expose for, and you can get those little tiny like points of light that there might be 1 or 2 photons like hitting your sensor. I know it sounds minor, but yeah, you want to get round stars first before you start going out and buying filters. And if you're like, I really like to not, like, if you find that you are in a high bortle zone, I almost would say look for a clear night, pack up your gear, drive out somewhere, set up, and then take advantage of a lower bortle zone is going to give you a lot better advantage than trying to buy a filter without a guide system. At least that's my experience. Let me know in the comments if you agree, not agree. But overall, I would definitely recommend that you do get the guide scope and a guide camera first before you start buying really expensive filters to sort of filter out light if your stars aren't perfectly round, because you just end up with so many subs that it'll take forever to process. All right, what else do we have in the question thing? So I've answered this one already, but basically, a telephoto lens, you can use it on the ground, you can use it up in the air, you can use it for astrophotography. The big disadvantage, though, is that most telephoto lenses are not designed to have perfectly flat, round field all the way to the edges. So you're going to have to crop quite a bit for most of them. And while they might say f2.8, it might not actually be that exact amount of light coming through. So if you are imaging with a f4 lens, like an f4 telephoto lens, I know they're quite popular, you might not be getting a completely flat field and your edges of your circle might be going. Whereas a telescope, especially an astrograph, you know it's going to be sharp to the edges and you can use the full width of your sensor. Now, one final note on that is that this also depends on how big the sensor in your camera is. I should have probably mentioned this earlier, but it's great somebody re-asked this question. And that is that if you are using a full frame sensor, this matters a lot. If you're using a crop sensor or a micro four thirds sensor, this matters less if you're using, say, a full frame lens or a telescope designed with like an imaging circle of 44 millimeters or more. And the reason for this is because, you know, if this is a full frame lens and you're cropping down, you're actually looking through the best part of the optics. That's why a lot of astro cameras come out with micro four thirds or APS-C sensors, and there's not as many full frame versions out there because you can take advantage of a less expensive telescope or astrograph, and basically just if you do with a micro four thirds, yes, you do have that crop factor for your zoom, if I can use that, but you definitely have it where you're just taking that center part of the image and it looks really good. I know I've done this with some full frame lenses when I was doing video work and photography with a micro four thirds. I was like, I have to deal with this crop and some other disadvantages, but I'm looking through the best part of a low budget glass. And that allowed me to get some really cool photos as I built up my kit of lenses. So just sort of that idea. All right, what do we got here? Yes. Um, any chance you have, Alex, to go out to a bortle, lower bortle zone, the better you are. Because I think a lot of people sometimes don't realize that the bortle scale is like logarithmic. Idea being is that every time you step up, it's 10 times worse. So yeah, driving out to your family farm, like I live out here in rural Canada, like I'm not kidding. My photography out here is so much better than when I was living in Ottawa. And when I had a short period of time in Toronto, I just left my gear out here because I was like, no. And it was just so bright downtown Toronto. That said, you could use a filter and stuff and do that, but I had a whole bunch of buildings and stuff like this. But I actually went out to a park one day and said, I'm going to try this. And I found Orion's the Orion Nebula, but I knew exactly where it was. But I was looking at it going like, yeah, yeah, it looks like a smudge on a blank field of just noise. I probably could have taken a bunch of images, processed something out of it, but yeah, if you're downtown in a really high light polluted area, the best thing you can do is drive out to the country. And there's a light pollution map. I think it's called lightpollutionmap.info. If you just Google light pollution map, you'll find it. That can really help you figure out which direction to drive in order to get the best skies. And yes, if you have a farm, go there. Automatic farm is always better than city for astrophotography, even if the cows moo at you at night. All right. Yeah. So thank you, Old Curmudgeon, for this comment. Basically, this is very true. good image quality means that you have less of an issue in post processing. Same thing goes is if you do your lights, your darks, your dark flats, your light flats, your dark light flat, and your biases. Can't forget the biases. Um, Honestly, all that really helps with post processing, makes it a lot easier. Um, but I will make one comment: if you go out and buy a really high end camera or an Astro dedicated Astro camera with cooling, etc., you still need to do them, but you can get away with a lot less. I remember like I almost until recently never imaged during the summer because my cameras would just get too hot because I was using mirrorless and digital SLR, and the noise on them was just atrociously bad. Versus, the fall and the winter where I was like, ha ha ha. To which I remember taking an image of a Comet Lovejoy. Um, a friend of mine and went out to do this, and we had slightly different setups, but oddly enough, the framing just matched, and his system was really, really expensive. Like, I think his telescope cost more than my entire setup. I think his camera probably cost more than my entire setup. But because we were out there in the middle of the winter in January at like negative 35 degrees, yeah, um, the optical performance and the camera performance was pretty darn even. Like, it's like, so yeah, weather matters, and yeah, getting good image quality matters. But yeah, in the summer, if you can use the best camera you have, even if it's like not Astro modified, because some of those I know I'm looking at doing another Astro modified camera. If you don't buy something that's at least semi current, yes, the H Alpha edition will really help you. But if it's not cooled, you're still going to end up with quite a bit of noise. It's an odd thing to do, but yeah. And I'm hoping to have more information a little bit later when I finally figure out what camera I'm getting. Probably have to send it off to get Astro modified, or let's be honest, I'm gonna get full spectrum because my current full spectrum camera is like, oh, I think the actual camera is probably 10 years old. So yeah, definitely time for that one. All right, Darks Barks. Yes, barks. Yes, get all the barks you can. Unfortunately, my dogs are being really quiet right now, which is really good because the neighbor is out cutting the grass. Literally started 5 minutes before I started streaming. I was like, oh. So hopefully you can't hear him too badly. The noise. I've made some adjustments to my microphones, but yeah, the dogs were like just woofing at him. I'm like, no, I can't go live with dogs woofing. All right. Do we have any other questions in the chat? Yeah, great. You can only hear me. Perfect. You can't hear the really loud lawnmower I'm hearing right now. Great. And if you're wondering how I am doing that, I am using this microphone right here, which I'm going to probably hurt everyone's ears. Yeah, so this is a Shure, what is it? Dynamic microphone, but it's a Shure SM57. I also have this lovely shotgun here from Rode, ooh, hat from Rode. This is a microphone I normally use. It works really nicely to pick up my voice, etc. But yeah, it'll also pick up the echo off this lovely stone wall behind me of pretty much any noise anywhere. When somebody's like, "Oh, you're in the other room," and you're like, "I can still hear you." All right. How are we doing here? Okay. So I do have a question for everybody in the chat. How many people are here for the giveaway and would like to hear a little bit about this telescope before I give it away? How many? Because this is a Celestron First Scope. It is a 76 millimeter telescope. Um, Now, what I'm giving away is actually the scope, which is going to, and the accessory pack, which actually comes with, and hopefully I'm not bumping that too loudly, um, two additional lenses for a total of four because one's actually plugged in here. Ooh, there you go. This version here comes with the names of a whole bunch of different famous astronomers. I was really tempted to go and pencil my own name in here, but I thought, no, I'm giving this away. Let's not do that. Somebody might get upset. But yeah, so there's a whole bunch of cool people like Ricardo. Okay, I'm probably not gonna. I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna probably mispronounce most of these names. I apologize in advance to probably everybody on here. except for Sir Arthur Stanley. I can get that one easy. There's Galileo Galilei, Johannes Kepler, Christian Hughes, a name in what looks like Greek, another one in what looks like Chinese, Hans Lippershey, and Gallo Galilei, uh, Haley Edmund Pierre Jensen. Um, who else do we have here? I think I got most of them. It says Cannon, Annie Jump. Uh, I'm gonna hope this is Jan Hartzer or John Hartzer. Edwin Powell Hubble. Oh, that's a popular one. However, I don't think everyone knows the Hubble telescope is currently having some functional problems in orbit. They've been trying to figure out what's wrong with it. They originally thought it was the computer. They switched to the backup computer, and they had the backup computer had the same problem. Now, anyone who knows about electronics and computers and all that stuff, the chances of two computers having the same problem that didn't exist prior means that it's probably not the main computer but some other component, and hopefully it's not something too critical that they have to shut down and deorbit the telescope. So they're currently working on a plan to sort of test a bunch of other systems, but unfortunately to do that, they're going to have to basically be turning various systems on the Hubble telescope on and off in a very apparently crazy sequential way. And the concern there is, again, with anything you're turning things on and off on a telescope up in orbit, you can't just go and like press the reset button. And sometimes if you hit the like if you've ever done this on your computer, you hit the reset button and then it doesn't reset, it gets jammed. Yeah, that's the concern right now up at the Hubble telescope is that if they start turning on and off everything in these crazy different startup patterns and everything else, that something might decide to say, oh, you turn me off, I'm not going to turn back on, or it's going to get stuck, and then they're going to not be able to use the telescope because something like the power module or one of the imaging modules or something like that just sort of dies. I don't claim to be an expert in how the Hubble works, but my understanding is that it's got a whole bunch of integrated systems. And since it's not the main systems that they're worried about, it's something to basically one of the backbone systems. They're going to have to play around with that for quite some time. And hopefully they get it running because it would really suck to not have Hubble anymore, especially given that James Webb is still not in orbit. I'd feel a lot better if we have one functional satellite in orbit than have one on the ground that we're hoping will get up to orbit without any problems, and one up in the air that's having problems. So hopefully, everyone cross your fingers that they're able to get the Hubble telescope working again. Yeah, no, they're definitely they're definitely trying to figure stuff out. And as I said, the easy I say easy stuff, but the easy problems that it could have been that they've really designed the system to handle. I think they've basically run out of those, and now they're getting into really nitty gritty. Okay, what's potentially wrong? Because again, it's in orbit. Who knows? Like it could have been hit by something. Doesn't take a lot. You know, it could have had it where just some piece of equipment is fried out. It could be that something's just gotten stuck in one position or something like this, and they have to figure out what it is and hopefully reboot it, or alternatively have to find a way of working around it, which may reduce significantly the capabilities of the Hubble. And again, as I said, worst case comes worse. If they find out they cannot get it to work, they did install a system to safely deorbit the Hubble telescope. I'm just hoping that they don't have to do that. All right. You have one question about your old telescope. Oh, sorry. I have a bunch of questions. So, what is your one question about your old scope you'd like to tackle here? And okay, there we go. Disassembling the objective. One is convex, the other one's concave. I'm not sure I got them back in the right order. Does it matter? It probably does. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, I'm trying to remember. optics 101 kind of thing. I believe the convex, the one that's convex on both sides, should be the first one the light sees, and then the concave is your corrector afterwards. Yeah, I'm 90% sure that's how that works. So if you've gone and taken apart your telescope and you're putting it back together, you want the convex one that's round on out both sides like this to be facing your light source, and then the convex one that's going to be convex like this is going to be facing your eye. So hopefully that works. Yeah, that's optics 101. My brain is telling me that is what's true. Um, do we have any other questions here? Ooh, here's a good one. Would a focal plane reducer help with a crop sensor, and to what degree? Um, so that is definitely not a dumb question. I will answer that before we get to this giveaway. So a focal plane reducer basically adjusts the light from going, like if your light is here, it basically shifts it here. And what it also does is, and what that does is concentrate the light. It's like the opposite of a teleconverter, which gives you more reach, but less light. It allows you, it basically gives you a wider view and shrinks in. Now, obviously, this is a good thing for just optics in any way, but in terms of like if you have a crop sensor, what it allows you to do is it allows you to turn basically a full frame lens into, say, an APS-C. And in fact, I have, if I look over here, can I find it in 10 seconds? I can find one. I have one here. Now, this is for camera technology, but it works exactly the same way. Just a telescope one will have a generally have a field flattener in there, and that gets the field flat. This one does not. It flattens the field a little bit, but it doesn't actually make the field flat. And what's good about this one here is a Metabone speed booster. I have a Viltrox version of this as well for my Sony. This is for Micro Four Thirds. But what it does is it takes a Nikon camera, this particular one, although this would be your telescope on this side. Do I have one? No, I don't have one there. Yeah, I could do that. 1 second. I have a Micro Four Thirds camera sitting right over here. I have a right there. Okay. All right, we're back here with the red cat. I'll put this guy down so I don't bump things. All right, so this is the red cat. It is a full frame telescope. It'll cover the whole frame of my telescope. And then this here is my full spectrum camera. It is actually a crop sensor. In fact, it's an APS-C, not APS-C, Micro Four Third sensor. It's really small sensor. So to use this on the red cat, I do have the proper adapter to go from telescope to Micro Four Thirds, but this would then crop to a 500 millimeter lens, which, okay, 500 millimeter f4.9 is not bad, but I do have essentially a field flattener or focal reducer, it's not field flattener, that I can put in here like this and attach it in between. Haha. Assuming I get it the right way. There we go. And now that basically condenses that light down to an APS-C sensor, or a little bit more than an APS-C sensor because it's designed for Micro Four Thirds. So instead of being a 500 millimeter f4.9, this now goes to, I think it's 325 f3 or 2.8. I'd have to double check the math, but yeah. So that allows that. So this actually allows me to collect a lot more light on this little tiny sensor than I could without that focal reducer. Now that said, this focal reducer is not designed for astronomy, and obviously with the red cat, I wouldn't necessarily do this. I'd have to use a full frame, but I would end up having some potential star issues along the outside edges. But this does work, and if you're in a pinch, if you have a really slow telescope, getting like if you have a slow telescope, let's say like an F, well, good examples like my Edge HD. It's F10. It's kind of slow. Now you can go out and buy the focal reducer for the um, Edge HD, and it'll give you 0.7, so that'll get you down to an F7 scope at 700 millimeters. But you could get something like this, but this guy isn't going to be necessarily flat, whereas that focal reducer for the telescope will be flat. So yes, you can use a focal reducer. It does help on the smaller sensors. Just realize that if you get something like this, it will do a focal reducer. It might not necessarily give you a flat field. So just something to keep in mind. But if you're using a micro four third sensor, even with a micro four third sensor, you're still looking through the best center of the optics. So not the end of the world. I should probably do a test of this and show it to you guys in another video. So I'm going to write that down after this live stream, and you might see a video about that later this summer. But thank you very much, Josh, for your question. It was not a dumb question, but that's how the focal reducers work. And yes, they are an advantage for a crop camera. I just recommend getting one for like from a telescope that matches your telescope, that comes with a field flattener, because it will definitely help with your image. Whereas this guy here, again, it's regular camera technology, doesn't really worry as much about making sure the field is flat. All right. Just checking things. How many telescopes do I own? All right. So I currently own, if we ignore this guy because I'm giving him away, and just I have him on loan, but I'm giving him away. I own 3 telescopes. I have a Celestron Edge HD 8-inch. I also have a William Optics Zenistar 80ED2. It's a very old version of it that's blue. And then I also, as you just saw, I own the Red Cat. I do enjoy imaging with all 3 telescopes. They all have different focal lengths from 250, uh, 475, because I have the focal reducer for that one, and then 1000 with the Edge HD. So depending on what my targets are, I use various scopes. Right now, I have the Edge HD set up out on my observatory because it's going to be dark tonight, and I'm been trying to get some images of the Crescent Nebula. I want to get like a really close-up image, like close up, because I've done it with the Red Cat to get wide, but I want to try to get a really close-up one. Uh, right now, the Zenistar ED2, it is pretty good. It's not actually an astrograph, but with the field flattener, it gets really pretty darn close. It's currently basically being used as a glorified guide camera when I'm using my Red Cat. Yeah, that's a fun one. But I'm hoping to try to get like a dual imaging setup with it, but I'm trying to work out what pathway I'm going to move forward in my astrophotography. Just going to drink some water here. All right, so we've been doing this for almost 40 minutes, which is about, I think, as long as anyone wants to sit here. So we're going to get to doing the giveaway. Yay, the giveaway. The giveaway. So if you haven't had a chance to sign up for the giveaway, it is open to residents of the United States because it is sponsored by High Point Scientific. There we go. Yay, my shirt. Yeah. I do it this way. There you go. High Point Scientific. Woo! They were kind enough to send me this tiny telescope for a month to try out. I've made a couple videos of which I have them sequenced out for the next little while. But I wanted to do a giveaway, and I thought, since this is American only, do it on Independence Day because then people in the international world won't be too upset at me. I will be having a international giveaway when I hit 2,000 subscribers, and my dogs have magically gone through the door. Yeah, my dog is able to open doors. This causes problems sometimes, but she's just tall enough that she can get to the handles. All right, back to this giveaway. So what I'm giving away is the Celestron First Scope and the accessory pack that comes with it. I'll have it all packed into one box. I will ship it to the winner. And in order to win, you do need to be signed up because I'm going to basically, I can pull an SCV file from all the people who've signed up, and I'm going to do a little random generator thing here on Excel, and it'll tell me a number. I'll look up that column or row, and that will be the winner. So if you haven't signed up yet, now's the time to do it. The sign up is on the pin post. If you do not have it, let me know because I can always get it again somehow. Is it going to let me do what I want to do? There we go. So I post it here, some skills. There you go. So you don't have to buy anything. It's absolutely free. And just go there and sign up. I will give you guys another 2-3 minutes to sign up if you haven't signed up yet, and for it to sort of process through the whole internet thing. But basically, this is a great scope for anyone interested in starting in visual astronomy. Yeah, with taking like your smartphone like this. Do I have my smartphone? Although I do recommend you get a holder. You can actually use this to take pictures of the moon. If you have a solar filter, you can do pictures of the sun. But overall, this is a visual scope. It's on a Dobsonian mount, so it does rotate left and right. And then with a little twist of this, you can move up and down and point it at any target. It does come with a finder scope on the side here. If you get the accessory pack, overall, it does work pretty well. But I find that, when you put it on a table, you gotta have kind of a small head to get in there. So have this sort of mounted on the edge of a table or something like that, and it works quite well. Um, it does come with a single speed focuser, and honestly, this works pretty well. I'm quite enjoyed it. When it showed up to me, it was well collimated. I then accidentally decollimated it to make part of the video say, here's how you collimate it, and then recollimate it again. Yeah, that was fun. And then it comes with these eyepieces. Eyepieces. Here we go. Now, these eyepieces are like, I think they're called Heller eyepieces because they have an H on them. And then the 4mm one is like an SR, and I cannot for the life of me remember what SR stands for. Uh, Overall, this optics works really well, but I do recommend that if you do get this, if you win this, or if you decide to buy one, upgrade this 20mm eyepiece. It costs like, I think, $30-$40 to get a Colossal, even a basic Colossal, and it's a lot better. I have a friend of mine that I gave him another telescope, and basically said, like, go spend 30-40 bucks, buy like one or two Colossals, so total of I think $80, and you'll be a lot happier than with like these little guys, because these guys are nice. They work. They do work. You can look through them and they do work. But a Colossal eyepiece is going to make you a lot happier in the long run. All right. What's the focal length? Oh, that's an excellent question, sir. The focal length, I believe, is 300 millimeters. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 300 millimeters. And let me just Google that right now. There we go. What does it say it is? It says it is. Yes, I'm just looking it up on the internet. Yes, you're watching me live stream looking up on the internet. I don't think you can even see the screen though. Specifications. Yeah. So it's 300 millimeters, which gives me a focal reduce, focal reduction ratio of 3.95, which with the 20mm eyepiece, which is what I have in here, this gives me a 15 times magnification, and with the 4mm, that is a 75 times magnification. The highest useful magnification is 180 times. I don't think anyone's realistically going to get that out of this and be super happy with it. Not that you can't do it, but you know, this is a Dobsonian mount. At that type of magnification, things are just going to be whipping by because the sky moves, which is one of the first things you'll find when you're looking through a Dobsonian. And then there's a bunch of other really cool things. And compared to the human eye, it's 118 times more light gathering power. I do hope that where are we going here? There we go. I hope that's all the specs that you wanted that I then Googled and told you. I do weird stuff, I know. All right. Yeah, so it's 300 according to High Point Scientific, and they're going to be our experts in this area today. All right, so I'm hoping everyone signed up. I'm going to now do the whole giveaway thing on my computer once I figure out how to do this. Dashboard, moment of truth. Okay, yep, we got some new signups. Good, good. All right. Wednesday. Filter it out. And it's going to give me this lovely thing that has everyone's email address on it. Do, do, do. Open up. Sorry, this is going to take a couple seconds here. I should have like some music or something playing while I figure out how to do this because I had this all planned out. Okay, I've got that one. Just double checking everyone's names on here. That person's in here. That person's in here. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody because that would be really bad. In here. That one's in here. That one's in here. All right. So we've got everybody who signed up. Perfect. All right. And I go to here. I just got to disable that so I don't have anyone getting upset at me afterwards. And then deleted it. Please tell me I just didn't delete that. Okay, no, we're good. We're good. I didn't break the system. Oh. Yeah, no, you signed up okay. I just wanted to make sure that I had all the names on the list that were transferred over because I tested it, it worked, but I always wanted to double check. So I'm going to just go here and type in random. I wasn't sure how many people were going to sign up for this, but we're going to do that. A total of 7 people who have signed up, including some of you that have signed up multiple times, but it only saves your email once. So so I like that. So we're good. And now I got to get that name. Okay, we have a winner. Yay. We have a winner. And now I have to find that person's email to figure out the name. Find that person's. All right, here we go. So our winner. Sorry, I'm terrible at this. All the suspense. Woo, suspense. There we go. And I press this button. I press that button. And the winner is, ta-da, Cecile Casey. I hope I pronounced that properly or at all. So congratulations, Cecile Casey. You have won this scope and the accessory pack. I'm going to send you an email after this live stream, and you have 48 hours to respond with like the basic information I need, which is like your address, where to send this. And then I'll be heading in town later this week, and I will be popping this in the mail, and it will make its way over to you, and I will send you an email with the tracking number and all that good stuff. So thank you, everybody who signed up for this, and especially some of you who signed up 4 times. You know who you are. um, so thank you very much. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you very much to High Point Scientific as I break. There we go. Thank you to High Point Scientific for lending this scope for a month and sponsoring this giveaway. I really did enjoy using it, trying it out, going and doing that crazy solar eclipse with this guy. Like it showed up the day before, and I was like, how can I not do this? So yeah, uh, super excited, and yeah, I'm hoping to have more giveaways in the nearest future. I have been collecting a few things over the last year and a half now that I've been doing YouTube, that I'm going to be doing another live stream for sure shortly after I hit 2,000 subscribers. And that will be international. It'll have a whole bunch of different things. I'm hoping to get a couple different sponsors. The sponsors may have some area limitations on them for some of the prizes, but for the ones I have so far right now, I will be doing the worldwide, again, assuming that I'm allowed to ship to certain countries, etc., places, and where laws, etc., may prohibit you from winning. But chances are you probably already are aware of those because you probably can't win anything. But chances are you're probably not watching this YouTube feed anyhow. But if you do have any additional questions, please leave them below. I will go through and see if there's any other questions in the thing here. Finish off this. But I really am glad and happy that people showed up, and the live stream seems to be working, and nobody screamed at me that they can't hear me, or the image went black, or aliens attacked while the whole thing was happening, because that would have been bad. But yes, Cecile, congratulations very much. You are our winner. And do, 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 do. Let's see here. Yes, we got some congratulations for Cecile from everyone else who sort of applied. So thank you very much. And I think that's all the questions through here. Yeah. Uh, Old Curmudgeon has a comment about planets. So you can see planets with a small refractor like that. It does work. The only problem is that it's going to be a shiny dot. Planets, you do really need a lot of aperture and magnification for, as I'm sure you're aware. When I'm looking at planets, I'm using my 8-inch my Celestron 8-inch telescope, the Edge HD version, simply because I do astrophotography. If you had a regular version, that would work just as well for planets. They're little tiny dots in the center of your optic field. You don't have to, you just need magnification to see them. Having all this other stuff helps a lot. Although you do want an apochromatic telescope, because they're such bright objects, you'll end up with diffraction between red, green, and blue if you try to do that with an achromat. And I think that's it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. For those who watch this on the replay, thank you for making it all the way to the end. If you have any questions, again, everybody, please hit that like button. Leave comments below if you have anything. And I will be seeing you soon, as I have more videos coming out, probably sooner than later, because I am going to probably post a video later today on how to use a German equatorial mount for a friend of mine who wants to know how to point it south. That's going to happen. Anyway, that's it for me. Hi, I'm Graham, or bye, I'm Graham, whatever. I don't know. I don't have a cool sign off. If you have a cool sign off idea for me, let me know. Until then, I guess clear skies, and yeah, hopefully the smoke doesn't get you. How do I turn this off? Oh, I have to press it twice.